Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Pride by Visibility Day webinar with some of our network, members of our network from the bi community who are going to share with us their experiences. So without further ado, I would like to pose a question to the panel, and that is, what does Bi Visibility Day mean to you? Who'd like to kick off?
I'll take that as a starter. For myself, Bi Visibility is an opportunity to raise awareness of the bi community, to be visible, to get together, and it's an opportunity to sort of like open up some of the myths that we have within, or that people view about the community, and actually address those myths and sort of like maybe educate a few people about sort of like what the bi community is all about.
Thank you, Stuart. Would anyone else like to share what Bi Visibility Day means to them?
I can start. I can give my ideas. For me, Bi Visibility Day is like an important thing, because it's like showing to the people that there is something like bisexuality, and that you don't have to be I say it, you can be yourself, and it's like, sorry, I have to get do it again, sorry. No, the most important for me for this is showing to the people that you can be bi and love someone, and it doesn't mean that you are in a small box. No, bi is a feeling, is how you are, and that you can love different genders. And for me, it's important to show to the people that they don't have to be afraid to say it out loud, and that they don't have to hide their feelings. And that's why I'm here, saying it out loud. And I want to know that all people that are maybe struggling with their feelings, that it's not something you have to be afraid for, and that a lot of people around you that accept you, and that you can be yourself. So this is for me, yeah, Bi Visible Day.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. That was lovely. Margaret, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, what does it mean to you, Bi Visibility Day?
For me, I think it's important to get a lot of the misconceptions out of the way, especially when we look at like media, TV shows, things like that. You know, there's a lot of this, they're straight, they're gay, they're straight, they're gay. You know, they're putting bisexual characters out there, but they're not calling them bisexual. They're just jumping between one and the other, and that is a lot of confusion. And I think we were sort of discussing it earlier, for a lot of us that kind of harks back to not knowing about that when we were young, and feeling confused because we didn't fit in one community or the other. So in terms of getting it out there, making it known that it is there, it is real, it's not just some fad thing that everyone seems to be kind of obsessed with. The whole, it's like, oh, people weren't like that before. It's like, no, they were, they just didn't tell you.
You actually raised very interesting there, Margaret. Do you think if there had been a sort of a prominent visible role model, bi-visible role model, that would have helped your journey in the younger years?
Yeah, I think so. Again, when I was kind of teenage years and all of that, in hindsight, I think I would have probably at the time labeled myself asexual, because my feelings for men and women were both the same. So I didn't really register any of those feelings as being romantic feelings or sexual feelings. So I didn't really have a lot of, or any really kind of romantic relationships at that point in my life, because I didn't identify the feelings I had as being romantic. Because, you know, surely if you're gay, you should feel one way about girls and one way about boys, or if you're straight, same but reversed. But because I didn't have that, it actually took me a very long time to figure out that I was bi, because I just figured everything was platonic.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Jenny, in your lovely kitchen, what does it mean to you, if you don't mind me asking?
No, not at all. So yeah, for me, it's about, literally, it's in the title. It's about being visible. It's about showing people that bisexuality is a thing, and and I kind of want to be there for young people that are going through that confusing time in their life where they're trying to work out where they fit in, and just to kind of say to them, like, yes, this is an option. You can consider bisexuality because it is a real thing. And yeah, for me, it's important because when I was around 13, 14, there was a girl in my year group that came out as bisexual, and that was kind of the first time when I'd heard of somebody actually saying that they were bisexual, because up until that point, I'd heard about it in the context of it being a stepping stone that people used between appearing straight and coming out as gay. And so it made me think about it, and at the time it was something that I was sort of struggling with myself. So it was nice to see a peer, not necessarily a friend, but like a peer in my year group come out, be very open about it, and then also just be accepted by everyone around them, and nobody made a big deal about it.
So did that help you in your journey of coming out?
I think that it did, in that it showed me that that was an option. That was something that I was allowed to consider and was allowed to label myself as. As it turns out, I didn't come out until much later than that. But if that hadn't happened when I was 13, 14, who knows how late it would have been before I'd actually come out.
And also, Jenny, sorry if you don't mind me, picking up on something you mentioned earlier. You mentioned about, it's important to be visible so that you could show, from your own perspective, so you could show, others, that this is a acceptable, part of life. Mm-hmm. Do you see yourself as a role model?
I would want to be. I try to be as open as possible with people, and I try not to hide it unnecessarily. So I do my best to show people that bisexual people exist, and that we are legitimate, I guess. So yeah, in a way, I'm a role model, but I wouldn't.
Well, I'll look forward to your profile on the Pride SharePoint role model. So yeah, thank you, Jenny, and I'd be interested to also know what Bi Visibility Day means to Mel.
Thank you, Brian. I would echo what Jenny just said about role models and the importance of role models. I think one of the problems with being with bi is just that it goes under the radar. So people automatically think you're the sexuality of the relationship you're currently in. So that means, if you're in a what looks like a straight relationship, people think you're straight. And then if you maybe go to a same-sex relationship, suddenly people think you've changed your mind. And that actually that, that's still valid for you because you're attracted to more than one gender. And I think unless you see somebody that does that, you just either think that they're gay or lesbian, or you think that they're straight. And there's not that many visible role models. They're out there if you look for them, but they're, it's not as common. So I think, to echo what Jenny was saying, actually being more vocal about it, being a role model, not just to young people, but to older people as well that have been struggling for years with these feelings. They're not quite sure which category they fit in, or they're just confused, and you're not 50-50. Some people are, 70, 80, you might be more attracted to women, you might be are more attracted to men, and there might be specific, you know, we all have types as well that we're attracted to. I think that's another thing. So, you know, it isn't just a 50-50 split. And so there's a lot of confusion around that. And I think that, you know, it's really important to get those messages out. So one of the things that we really want to do on Bi-Visibility Day is break some of those myths and make people feel that actually, you know, how you're feeling is normal, how you're feeling is the same as other people go through, and it's okay.
That's what I always say. Everybody's a little bit bi, because yeah, it's not 50-50, it's not 70-30. Everybody has some. But thank you, Mel. It was nice.
Yeah, I think one of the key things for me in terms of Bi-Visibility Day is trying to break some of the myths, bust those myths, isn't it? Because people do have, you know, perceptions, and picking up on something you said, Mel, you know, it's about, you know, some people do have that perception that, you know, because you may like a boy, you may also like a girl, you know, people can be a bit more promiscuous. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
That to me?
No, that's to anyone who wants a question.
Hey, so I'll take that one as I just got in there thinking you were talking to me. For me, I think that's a concern, that people seem to think that, you know, you're not going to be loyal just because you're bisexual. You know, you know, for me, it doesn't matter the gender of the person that I'm with, but that doesn't mean that I want multiple partners. So, you know, my ex was male, and my current relationship is with a female, you know, but that's, you know.
I think it's quite a common misconception that people think bisexual people have more opportunity, or they are more promiscuous because they have more choice or more opportunity. And it's not everybody who's bisexual is promiscuous, just like not everybody who's promiscuous happens to be bisexual. It's a myth that's out there, and it's just, I think
Totally
it's just.
Yeah,
Sorry.
totally too, Stuart. No, totally too. It's like saying, okay, because you can maybe have multiple, or not, but you like men and women, and they say, yeah, maybe you're gonna cheat on me or something like that. But it's the same for if you have a relationship with only a man or a woman. You can also meet other people, and are you gonna cheat on them? It's totally right. It's strange. There's a misconception that, yeah, this will happen. Totally true.
Don't get me wrong. If people are in an open relationship and that's how they wish the relationship and that's how it works, absolutely fine. It's just it's not the 100% normal for a bisexual person to be promiscuous. Always want an open relationship, and must always have a male and a female partner to feel sexually sort of like connected.
It's about the person. Totally true. But
no, and I think that's it. We're all different. Go on,
all different.
Margaret, was that?
But I again want to state very clear what Stuart says. It's a really misconception of people, because they think it's like a sort of threat, and it's not the case. Because you love someone and you want to be with that person, and you want to support that love and that relationship. And if you make the choice, you go for it.
I can wholeheartedly agree to that one. That is, if you're in a relationship where you're committed to that relationship, it doesn't matter what relationship you're in, you're committed to that relationship, whether it be a straight, whether it be a bisexual, whether it be a pansexual, whether it be a gay relationship. If you're committed to that relationship and that's the relationship you wish, you will remain committed to that relationship.
So, I mean, we touched upon one of the myths about bisexuals are, you know, people perceive them to be, you know, promiscuous. Is there any other myths that you think are unfounded? Maybe we could.
Yes, the very famous one. You're in the phase, huh? Transition phase.
Oh, transition. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you like both women and men, and you are gonna make your choice. You don't know yet, and maybe you're coming later. And
You've just
you
not
were
made
gonna
your
be.
mind up yet. You're still deciding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there's also just this kind of misconception that women, they go to university and they experiment with other women, and then they end up marrying a man because they're ultimately straight. But just all women experiment to some degree, and therefore by that bi-curious phase that people go through is just a phase.
How do you feel when you hear comments like that? It's just a phase.
I mean, I don't hear that very often, but it is very dismissive of how I feel, which
So,
is
sorry,
sorry.
I didn't mean that to you specifically, but I just when you hear it in the context of the bisexual community, that this is just a phase people are going through.
It implies that it's something that we should get over, I guess.
Yeah. It's I very rarely sort of like if somebody is off that stage and they pose that to me, sort of like, it's, in time you'll make your mind up and you'll settle down on which way you wish to settle down, and it's like, no, in all fairness, this is who I am, this, and I am that person, and by you telling me that, I have to make my mind up and I have to become gay, or I have to become straight, heterosexual, or I have to put myself into a pigeonhole that suits your requirements, doesn't suit my requirements. And it's just very dismissive of how I live my life. And I don't find it offensive because I'm too long and I'm too sort of like old to be offended by a lot of things nowadays. But I do, when somebody says that, I just think, really, it's more a reflection of you not knowing than it is of me, how I wish to live my life.
How do you think we could make wider society know more about the bi community? What do you think we could do to raise awareness?
I think Margaret had a very nice point earlier about sort of like, the mass media. You see people being portrayed as bisexual, but they're solely in a gay relationship, or they're bisexual. Normally in the mainstream television, it's they're bisexual, but in a heterosexual relationship. They don't see anybody that would maybe change either in a pure bisexual relationship with a male and with a female and being attracted to both genders at the same time. They don't tend to portray that story. That tends to confuse people. And the mass media tend not to like to confuse people, so they don't tend to put them into a pure, what I'd call an openly bisexual relationship. They tend to box them into it, and it tends to be off the female. It's always the female that's bisexual, and sort of like they're in a heterosexual relationship. I just don't think they help that. I think it'd be nicer if the mass media could understand that bisexual, no matter what gender relationship you're in, you're still bisexual. If you're in a relationship with a woman, so if you're in a relationship with the same gender, you're still bisexual. If you are in a relationship with somebody of the opposite gender, you're still bisexual in that relationship. And I'd like to see mass media actually portray that as a bisexual is still a bisexual no matter what gender the relationship is that they're in with at that time.
Part of my point as well was around the media's sort of refusal. It's starting to creep in, but it's not even using the word bisexual. I think Orange is the New Black was one of the examples I could sort of think of, where the main character does go through relationships where she starts off, she's with a guy, then she's with the woman but it's constantly using the labels, oh, so you're straight now, oh, so you're gay now. They never actually label the character within the show as being bisexual, and it reinforces that idea that you have to be one or the other, and sort of negating, she's in a relationship with a woman now, that means she's a lesbian. She didn't really like that guy. It was societal expectation that made her be with the man, or if she ends up with a guy later on, it's, oh, well then, yes, the lesbian thing was just a phase. You know, oh, she was in prison. Of course that happened. You know, it's this refusal to even use the word, even if they are technically portraying a bisexual character, is the one that kind of boils my blood.
Well, why do you think the media are like that? They refuse to sort of acknowledge bisexuals in our society by either labeling them as gay or straight?
I don't know if it is just the media's tendency to like to, you know, simplify things, keep it very, you know, we want people to follow the storyline. We don't want to come across as preachy or people won't watch it. You know, there's a certain idea of that kind of queer baiting as well, where, you know, you'll kind of hint at something happening to get an LGBT viewership, but then never actually pay off on it by making the thing actually happen. It's just hinted, 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 but we're never going to follow through. I think it's a certain level of that, trying to keep everyone happy and attract as broad an audience as possible because they don't want to take risks.
Is it because gay's mainstream and it's pretty much as a guaranteed sort of audience because people understand gay, so they can portray people as gay and they can portray people as straight because it's a known sort of like quantity to them. And they're maybe just as uneducated in the mass media about sort of like that there are bisexuals out there, and bisexual is a lifestyle. It's a, you know, it's how people choose to be. It's not a sort of like a either or. It's not a binary solution between sort of like straight and gay.
Exactly. I think Hollywood has a lot to answer for, and media in general. You know, they have a huge influence on society's views and how the LGBT community and other communities are portrayed. And I think, you know, they can, as you say, the Orange is the New Black is a good example of that. And I guess it's also about whetting people's appetite into getting people used to it. You know, back in the 70s, not that I'm that old, but, you know, gays were portrayed as camp people, and, you know, we had, it was used as a joke and things. And now, you know, the LGBT community sees it as being, you know, insulting. But I think what it did is it took something that society in general couldn't cope with and kind of normalized it, and slowly but slowly has changed it. So it has been a good thing, although, you know, if you're going to take it on face value, it's absolutely wrong. But we've seen it with black people, you know, the way perception didn't change. We've seen it with trans, and I think the bi community will be the same way.
I think it's about education, or at least you can go into nearly any environment and you can have a conversation, and should the gay conversation come up, it seems to be a comfortable conversation that people feel comfortable having because it's something that they've been a little bit more educated in, and they tend to be slightly more comfortable about it. I remember sort of like late 90s being sort of like, I was the token of nearly every sort of Bristol fashionable dinner party because I was
fashionable.
Well, what they thought, I was the fashionable accessory at a dinner party because they thought, I've got a member of the LGBT at my dinner party. How cool is that? But then when you told them you're bisexual, it was almost like, what do you mean you're not gay? And because they didn't kind of understand that, and I think it's still today very much in communities, you know what, you're either not gay enough to be in the gay community because you're bisexual, and you're not straight enough to be in the straight community because you're bisexual.
So does that stop you from telling people?
Sorry?
Does that restrict you from telling people because you're worried about what their opinion will be and how they react, or has that changed?
I would say it was too old and too long and too old the tooth. It depends. It depends how I feel I'm going to interact with the person. If I'm going to interact with the person for more than a 30-minute sort of like conversation that may be a function somewhere, I'll probably allow them to have some sort of preconception and not really delve into the who's and the whys of what my life is about, because in all fairness, I'm never going to talk to them again. If it's somebody that I feel that I'm going to spend time, talk with, and they may sort of like be in a what I'd call a friends or a colleague scenario, then if they do sort of like misannounce my relationship or my standards, I will then sort of like have to I'll take them to the side very sort of gently and say, actually, in all fairness, as much as you may think I'm in a gay relationship, I'm a bisexual man in a relationship with a man, or I'd address it in a way. But if I think the thing that when we were talking about earlier was, I tend to have to feel that I have to address it because of the relationship that I'm currently in, which means I'm being judged by the gender of the person that I'm in a relationship with. Whereas if I was out with a woman or somebody of my opposite gender, nobody would really question anything. It wouldn't be sort of like, I wouldn't have to address anything. There would be no sort of like awkward questions, because people would just assume that I was in a straight relationship. And it would probably be the same scenario if somebody said, so are you in a straight relationship with said person, and the person happened to be female? Again, I'd have to choose my long-term goals and whether or not I'd have that conversation with them.
Okay, but at the end, it's all about labeling, and
Yeah.
we as a bi community, we also want to have our label.
Yeah.
So, and that's a little bit difficult, because people won't understand, because they don't have that feeling. They like the man, they like the woman, they are really focused on what and that's what they feel, and they can't see that there can be a choice.
As much as it's confusing for me in a younger stage of my life, I can see why it's slightly confusing for them also to understand when that subject is broached to them.
Yeah, so if Ronan asked me the question, how can we make it more visible? How can we portray it? It's very difficult to explain, because it's about feeling. And what I did in the past years for the gay community is, of course, very important, and I'm proud of it and seeing it happening. But explaining something that's in between is like very difficult, because people won't accept that you are that you can make that choice. It's or straight or it's gay. It's or this or that.
But I think the visibility of people who are bisexual on a day-to-day scale, being visible is part and parcel of the journey that needs to be taken to educate people. I'm of a generation that I'm sitting there thinking, I couldn't really think of many bi role models that I see regularly in the media in any way, shape, or form. I just could not think of many off the top of my head. I just don't think that I just don't think the community is that openly visible at this moment.
I'm just conscious of time, because we've another, I think 5-10. We've only got another 5-10 minutes of air time. Going on that last point that you raised, Stuart, about visibility, how do the panelists feel Fujitsu is treated? Well, how do you perceive Fujitsu is recognizing the bi community? What are your experiences of that? Has it been positive? Have you felt supported by Fujitsu as a bi individual?
I can, from my feeling, is that it doesn't matter what you are for Fujitsu. It's about diversity, and that is supported very well. So it doesn't matter for me. It's more about the people that work at Fujitsu that still or are new or need to learn that idea about diversity. But it has never had a problem for me working at Fujitsu. No, I can be myself there.
Thank you, and that's a very positive message from you about our company.
From me, okay.
We'll have to pay you later.
Yeah. So who else would like to share their experiences?
I can pitch in.
Margaret, please.
My experiences have also been very positive. I think I was maybe about 5-10 minutes in the door before someone had directed me towards the Shine group. I was sort of like, you need to go, you can get your lanyard. I actually still have some ancient post-it notes sitting at my desk with
You
all the
have your
Shine
lanyard?
branding on it.
You have your lanyard? Oh, I'm still waiting for it.
I've gone through 2 of them so far. I keep breaking them from unfair use. But yeah, so the idea that I was straight in the door and it was kind of like, we're not even going to ask, we're just going to assume that whether you're LGBT plus ally, whatever, that you want to be involved, you want to show that you're a member of the community, that you want to show that you're an ally, get stuck in, get registered on the Shine portal and get that. So I felt very comfortable straight off the bat being honest about the relationships that I was in. So that was kind of a uniquely positive experience, having come out of a workplace that co-worker who deliberately misnamed my partner at the time because he thought it was funny, to come into this was a very big difference.
Wow.
Well done, Mel. There you go. Positive resounding out.
Yeah, that's a very positive story again, Margaret. So that's very good to hear. And by the way, we have now rebranded ourselves as Pride, Fujitsu Pride, not Shine.
Yeah, but it was at the time when I came.
But you'll be getting another lanyard. That's the good news. Yeah.
That'll be a third one for you to break.
Yay!
When we can get into Manchester.
Yeah, when we can. So Jenny, I'd like to ask you that question because I do like your kitchen.
My experience coming into Fujitsu with regards to the LGBT plus network was fairly positive. I think it was on the first day, my first day as well, when somebody in my new department was speaking to all of us and said, if you're interested in joining any of these networks, because we have a few others, of course, then this is how you do it. This is who you could speak to if you want to know more about it. So yeah, it was very easy to do.
Good. That's again very positive. Very positive.
Rowan, you're working there very long already in Fujitsu,
what?
don't you? You're working already very long for Fujitsu.
Yes.
How was your experience?
My experience, I've been in Fujitsu for 22 years. I mean, things have changed in Fujitsu. It was very different, 22 years ago. I don't identify myself as bi. I identify myself as a gay man. But it was a very different journey that I had. I remember my manager at the time. Maybe I shouldn't say this on camera, but. Yes, anyway, shall we move on to Mel? Yes, anyway.
Mel, take it away.
Was that subtle?
That's all I'll say.
Terrible dance maneuver.
I think you're right. I think, Fujitsu has changed for the better.
Yeah.
And some people, I mean, it's a company like any other. And people come from different backgrounds and different understandings and different viewpoints. And whilst that's okay, we have a responsibility as Fujitsu and as Pride members to educate people and to make sure that everyone is felt valid. And I think, we have done some really good work in that space, and I think there's more to be done, hence this call. So thank you all for joining. For me, oddly enough, I find I can comfortably talk about my relationships openly. I know that it's probably frowned upon by certain members of my team, but do they treat me any differently? No, they don't. But they do keep their personal views to themselves on that one.
Mhm.
So, Stuart, same question to you, please.
I was going to say I've moved around quite a bit within the sort of like the RG, the account that I'm currently in. So there tends to be the core people I work with all automatically assumed I was either gay or eccentric. Was their first initial concern when they came out when we were talking about it. It's like, oh, we assumed you were either gay or eccentric. I was like, well, that's nice. So, you know, I've never been accused of being overly eccentric yet, but then
But
because
his
I've worked
flag
with
fell down.
them, then it fell down. But then I explained to them sort of like, you know, whilst you might assume that I'm gay because of the relationship that I'm currently in, no, I'm not. I'm bisexual, and in that, it just brought up all the weird questions like, how can you be bisexual but in a relationship with a man? It's like, do I really have to explain the statement bisexual to you? It means I'm attracted to both genders. And you know, it's not whether I'm in a relationship. It's not whether I'm in a relationship with a man or whether I'm in a relationship with a woman. It's the fact that in either relationship, I am still going to be a bisexual. And I think the interesting one is always the sort of like, you always get that strange, so do you fancy me or things like that. That's always a weird one. That's all. You always know it's a. This is not an answer you ever want. You're not asking valid questions in order to understand anything better. You're just asking a question because it's crass. So within the teams that I work with, yes, they're very understanding. They always have been very understanding, the teams I constantly work with. I am slightly nervous whenever I move around teams. Do I have to come out again? Do I have to tell them? Do I have to explain to them again? And I'm then, on a third degree, I'm also extremely nervous when I talk to customers. And when I'm in a customer environment, do I feel I have to come out to the customer and do I have to explain to that customer? And will I be spending quite a bit of time in the customer for it to matter to me, for them to understand what my background is? So
Because the background is important for the customer relationship.
I don't think me walking into a customer office and saying, "Hi, by the way, I'm Stuart, I'm bisexual."
No.
I don't think that's not the way it's going to work. But as I get to know a customer, if they talk about, so Stuart, what you up to this weekend? Are you away with the wife and the kids? Or that standard conversation that comes up, then it's a case of, no, I'm not married. I'm actually in a relationship with a man. And then that comes, oh, you're gay, I never noticed, my apologies. And it's like, no, in all fairness, you put your foot in again, I'm not gay, I'm bisexual. I'm a bisexual man in a long-term relationship with a member of the same gender.
I think that's nice to hear.
It's a nice question, by the way, I have to ask, because, yeah, the diversity Fujitsu is promoting for all his employees in Fujitsu. Does it also is promoted to the customers and the people around? Enough.
Fujitsu do actively have a policy statement when it puts out a bid, doesn't it, Mel?
Correct.
You know, saying that, you know, they
are open, diverse, and yeah, I know.
And yes, and we have a policy that we want our suppliers to, and we do, you know, help work with our customers and clients to educate them, to help them on that journey. So it's not just internal, it's with every interaction that we're having. And I'm speaking specifically for the UK, but it's something that's becoming more and more global.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the Fujitsu way as well. I think Fujitsu wants all employees to be inclusive and to have those diverse, you know, to have those values. And for that, not just to be a lip service, they want it to be part of our DNA as well. So that's something important.
Just a one-liner, Rohan, just because we've got to wrap up. But everyone just going around the room, one-liner, what message would you want an ally to hear?
Let's start with Jürgen, shall we? Because he's in Portugal.
Always me. No, I'm just saying, be open. Don't be afraid. Don't put yourself in the same box. Step out and see that everybody is different. You are different. We are different. Everybody's different. And don't have any prejudice to people, because that's the worst thing you can ever have. And it's not for only the bisexuals, it's for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, for that one liner, though I suspect that was several lines. So we go to Jenny next.
Yeah, I think I would probably want to say, firstly, thank you for being an ally. And then also, let's all just treat each other with the same respect that we would hope to be treated with.
Thank you, Jenny. And Margaret, how about your one-liner? And you can be, by the way.
I think for anybody that's confused by the concept, I would like to introduce them to my favorite analogy for bisexuality, which is the werewolf. During the day, they might look like a human, and during the night, they might look like a wolf, but they're still always a werewolf.
Oh, that's a good analogy. I like that. That's a very good one.
Okay.
And how about yourself, Stuart?
Certainly for the allies, I would like to thank them for their continued support, for being an ally, and to say for an ally, do you know what? There's no question that's incorrect as long as it's sincere, and sort of it is to educate themselves better in order how they can be a better ally to us.
Thanks, Stuart. And Mel?
Yeah, definitely echoing the thanks. And yeah, don't be frightened to make mistakes. You know, we try to help people on that journey, and I think sometimes on that journey of learning, we do make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and that's not bad, as Stuart just said. And you know, ask questions, be open-minded.
Yep.
Yeah, Rohan, something I learned from a very famous blues singer, and Bo Diddley, and he said, "Never judge a book by its cover."
That's very true. That's very true. And that's what I like. That's my message to the allies. Never judge a book by its cover. Come out, support, show your support to our bi colleagues at Fujitsu and in the wider community, and help, you know, recognize not just by Visibility Day, but every day, recognize, you know, bi people are part of our community, and help them to be visible, encourage them to come out, and just support them in their day-to-day lives, their culture, their history. Just be an ally to everyone. No, yeah, that's my message.
Thank you.